Folks, welcome to a brand new episode of Trainwreck tonight. Happy World Redhead Day. I mean, this holiday weekend continues to roll for me here on this Tuesday. A high of 91 in Buffalo. Summertime weather at an all-time high, but unfortunately in my house right now, it's 88 degrees. So I'm struggling a little bit. My AC guy's coming tomorrow at 12 noon, but I'm joined with Maniac, show sponsor, Buffalo Credit Repair.
Buffalo Credit Repair. You know what? Maybe your credit was great before the pandemic and it took a hit somehow. Maybe, you've always had great credit, but you just want to get a better price looking for a car, house, or another big purchase. Hit up our friends at Buffalo Credit Repair, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They've got your solution. Buffalo Credit Repair.
And tonight we have a very special guest, Pat Moran, in the building, but I got to read a very influential quote first. Here we go. This isn't how any of us envisioned our 50th season coming to a close. Our promise to our fans is that we will come back stronger as a team and as a community. We cannot thank you enough for your loyalty. We cannot wait to get back on the ice, Pat.
Look, I have a podcast that is related primarily to Buffalo sports. I have I feel like a duty to be objective, kind of put my personal feelings aside. So you guys know on Twitter, I'm a much bigger basketball fan than I am a hockey fan. It's always been that way, but it's my hometown team, so I've always liked the Buffalo Sabres. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm at a point, I legitimately, and I mean legitimately, hate this franchise right now. I hate the Buffalo Sabres. I hate everything about them. I truly do. That's a kick in the face to fans. And I almost feel like there were a couple different quotes throughout John's article, and it almost felt like they were speaking condescendingly towards the fans, like, and it might be true. I mean, it should be, it better be true. They're the owners, but they're telling you straight up that, hey, we know more than you do. We have inner workings with this team and things that we like. Well, what is it that they're seeing that they like? Because I'm having a hard time from a hockey standpoint. Explain to me. I'm all ears. Tell me what it is about this organization, about this franchise right now that is even remotely likable.
Right what you just said, that quote from Kim Pegula in that article, some inner workings that we see some positives in. Maniac, where are the positives?
Yeah, it's hard to point out a positive. Like, I remember during the Housley era, like when they went from the worst team to like the 26th worst team, and they were trying to point out how that was an improvement. But let's face it, the top 24 teams just made the NHL playoffs. The Sabres going into next year are going to have a chance to basically tie the longest drought in playoff history for the NHL, which is just a terrible stat. I mean, again, I've been making this point for years. This is worse than the Bills' drought. It's just we haven't been paying as much attention to it because of the Bills' success, and even UB.
And there's less excuses, too. I mean, you have a world-class franchise center. You have a world-class defenseman. He's still young, but he's 2 years into the NHL. You had a really good second-line center. I mean, we don't need to go over the trade. They've had a lot of good players in the team, a lot of good opportunities to grow. They got a 40-goal scorer on this roster. So the excuses are less with this team. And this guy, I'm not one of those guys who says, let's replace the GM every 2 years if it doesn't work out, or let's replace the coach. I understand a sense of continuity. That does mean something, but you're now 3 years into your tenure as GM. You have, a franchise center who many people can make a fair argument. This might be the most talented skater in the entire history of the franchise, 50 years. He is now 5 years into his career, and they've been rotted away. Forget the playoffs. This guy has not played a meaningful mid-March game one time in 5 years. The team's going nowhere. They make trades for guys who sit in the press box who are healthy scratches. They give up assets to get them. They're not in good cap shape. Again, from a hockey standpoint, 3 years, you're no closer to being a good team now than you were 3 years ago. That, to me, is just inexcusable.
No, it's absolutely spot on, and I hope my dad watches this because my dad and my cousin both got rid of Sabres season tickets, and they're both I was shocked. My dad's the kind of guy he'll be like, okay, next year's the year we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back strong.
Your dad is a Captain John Smith. He's going down with the ship.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I
Like,
thought my dad.
he's not Jay Bruce Ismay. He's not jumping on that lifeboat.
No, I thought for sure that my dad, he's all talk. He even mentioned about the Bills before. My brother's like, yeah, get out of here. But no, he actually done after this season. He's done wasting his time and money because it's think about it. That's an expensive night. And if you have season tickets and you only sell half the season, I mean, think of the parking expenses, the food, the booze you're buying at the games. Like so he's had enough. And that shows a lot to me with the organization that those season ticket numbers dropping big time, especially going into next year. And who knows?
Let me ask you guys a question on your show here about Terry and Kim. We know what's going on with the Sabres right now. If you talk to a Sabres fan, you can make an argument at least that the relationship between fan and organization might be at an all-time low right now. You can make an argument for that at least. Bills, that's another story. If you're a Bills fan and you don't care about the Sabres, you got no problems with Terry and Kim right now at all. But let's just say if they didn't I don't want to say they lucked into Sean McDermott because they did pursue him, but he had other opportunities. If Sean McDermott would have went to Cleveland and they don't get Sean McDermott and they don't turn this franchise around and you're looking at the Bills right now laboring just like the Sabres are continuing to do so, just imagine what all fans would feel about ownership right now in Buffalo if the Bills, again, if they didn't hire McDermott and things internal because that brought Brandon Beane here, man, you're talking about two teams, one of these owners, it could be really, really ugly. Fortunately, it's not.
Tim Graham's article, he had a source in the McBean camp that was saying, hopefully this disagreement or whatever dishevelment with the Sabres doesn't bleed over into the Bills side of things. I mean, that's the last thing you want to hear as a Buffalo sports fan.
Yeah.
And what was McDermott's contract?
I think he got a 5-year deal. I'm not sure for how much, but I know he had other offers. I know Cleveland was very interested in him. And again, you got to credit Terry and Kim for going after him. So I don't want to say they lucked into him because they did pursue him. But still,
Pat, I couldn't even imagine how low this city would be right now if the Bills weren't good. I mean, people are saying 12-4 and AFC's champs, and yeah, I couldn't imagine what life would be like.
Yeah, look.
You even have UB football's favored in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're up there in the Mackey's projections or even the Mac projections.
Now, winning cures all. If the Sabres come out next year and somehow, some way things turn around, a lot of these conversations that guys like us are having right now, they'll be null and void. Well, I feel like an idiot for saying some of the things that I'm saying right now, but it's how I feel at this moment about this team.
Yeah.
It just feels like I don't understand. I could sit here and talk to you guys for hours. I just cannot understand for the life of me when it comes to hockey, when it comes to putting the best team on the ice, seeing what he's done with this franchise. I'm talking about Jason Botterill over these last 3 years. I just don't understand what gives him a fourth year. I just don't get it, especially when 24 teams are playing in the playoffs and the Sabres are still not one of them. There's only 7 teams that are not participating in the playoffs. And your GM is overseeing a team again. I can't emphasize this enough, guys. Jack Eichel, maybe one of the best players that's ever put on a Sabres uniform. His career is just 5 years in, and it's just rotting away. He's playing in 0 important games. That's going to drive him crazy. How long do you think he's going to go on before he starts to make a real stink?
I was just going to bring that up to both of you. Like, when is the time that I hate to say it, and if you said this like a year ago, you'd look like a complete idiot, but trade Eichel?
Oh, people have already been saying that.
I know that, but that's
the point. Out there that think somehow trading Eichel for a second-line center, like a serviceable D-man, and a first-round pick is like a good idea. Like, honestly, they really do. And it's just so foolish. If you told if they started all the franchises again tomorrow, Eichel would be in the top 5, no doubt, top 3 most likely. And, I mean, the fact that you can't build around him, Dahlin, I mean, they had a good fourth line this year. I mean, they were all novel about, like, the log line or whatever. I mean, it's just – you have these, like, it just feels like there's so much dead weight on the Sabres every single year. And it's like you said, Pat, Botterill just standing pat, for lack of a better pun there. He just did not make enough moves. He lucked into Skinner for the 1 year. He got Henry Okiaru for a good deal, if you want to try and frame that. But just besides that, he just doesn't seem to have the perspective of a GM that knows how to win. Even this year when they were fluttering, he would say things like, oh, we just had a big win against Columbus, so our focus is on, like, going forward. Like if Brandon Beane said something about like one game as far as being the organization's whole focus, he would sound like an idiot. Like no offense, like he would just sound like short-sighted. And you don't want your GM thinking game to game. Your GM should be thinking like phase to phase season, maybe like 3 parts of the season, not one game.
Now, when you make statements too, you got to kind of own them. They made a couple deadline deals. I don't want to say they were adding to the team. They were kind of retooling a little bit, but he did come out and proclaim talking about playing meaningful games in March. Now, obviously, the season got cut short, but then they go on and I think they lost, what, like 7 in a row or something like that and got buried before March even hit. Where's the accountability? It's just a point. Again, we could talk about this. I just don't understand where the accountability comes from. And again, you almost got to question, is the ownership saying, look, we have a plan. I really don't care what the fans don't run this team. This is our team. I can't help but not feel that way, at least to some extent anyway.
Yeah, and Pat, 2 things. One, and pretty much Sabres were forced to sign Skinner. Because if you don't sign Skinner, I mean, you're not going to sell seats that season. So you had to give that guy that much money just to get people back in the barn the next year. And my other thing, too, Pat, is tonight the night you tweet out again that you trade the Sabres for an NBA franchise? I mean, it's a perfect timing right now.
It's going to happen.
Tonight is your night, Pat.
It is going to happen. I've already been on a little bit of a rampage. I haven't done the NBA greater than NHL tweet yet, but yeah, it's absolutely coming. Which, by the way, again, I said that game 1. That's just how I am. I'm a big basketball guy. Now I'm also smart enough to know that ain't going to fly in Buffalo. So it's not like I was naive about when I first tweeted that out early in the season and got into a little altercation with our buddy, the funnel guy, over that, among some other people. I knew it wasn't going to go over well because I know Buffalo. I've spent 45 years there. I know Buffalo's a hockey town. I'm just a basketball guy. Now I really am, because you could put a soccer team ahead of the Sabres right now for all I give. I don't care. I almost swore. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it.
Hey, FC Buffalo is rocking this year, Pat. You got to come up and get to a game.
So, Pat, it's time to get to you now. At Pat Moran Tweets on Twitter, host the Talking Buffalo podcast. How's everything going, right now for you in quarantine down in Florida?
Honest to God, not much has changed for me personally in terms of like either professionally or socially, because professionally, since I moved down here 4 years ago, I've been working remotely from home. So that didn't change. And in terms of my podcast, it hasn't changed much either, because, again, an unfortunate part about being in Florida with having primarily Buffalo guests is that I'm doing a lot of interviews by Skype, by phone, by Zencaster, and stuff like that. It's only when I get a chance to get up to Buffalo, I get a chance to hook up with people one-on-one and do live shows or whatever have you. So my point is, that hasn't really changed. You know what I mean? I'm still down here in Florida. I'm still doing the show, and I'm still doing all my interviews remotely, whereas opposed to you guys, when things are right, you got guys in your studio all the time, so it's kind of different there. So not a lot's changed for me on that level. I think I've just had a lot more time to just kind of reflect on and put a lot of things into perspective now, and it's a lot, it's different in Florida. I say this all the time. Florida's different than Buffalo. I don't necessarily think that it's better or that it's worse. It's just really different. It feels like the quarantine down here, the whole coronavirus, has been handled a lot differently in Florida than in New York in a lot of ways. I tell my wife this all the time. Had I woken up from, say, maybe a 3-week coma, I don't know that I would know, except for a smattering, because like when I go to like Publix or Walmart, there's still a smattering of masks. But aside from that, it's almost, I don't even know that there's a virus going on here down right now. The beaches are packed. The parks are packed. People are playing volleyball. They're playing basketball. So, I mean, it's not a lot. It's really not a lot different, but it has made me miss home. And I know it's crazy because down here, I could do whatever I want to do for the most part. In Buffalo, well, now things are starting to open up, but before that, you couldn't do anything. But I say it all the time. I would still trade places with either of you guys in a second, man. I really would.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I just saw Maniac for the first time yesterday in over 2 months.
It's tough.
It's
it is
crazy.
Tough. What did you guys do primarily to make the time go by, besides, you still had an opportunity to continue to work on Trainwreck Sports, but just socially, it's different. It really is. And it's like so divisive too. And that's been a really tough part as well. People's stances, and I don't necessarily say one's right or one's wrong, but it's really one side or the other. Mask or no mask, or open it up, and people are having protests and stuff like that. or keeping things locked down, because I think no matter what way you approach it, there's a truth to it. There's a right and there's a wrong, no matter which way you approach it. So that's probably been, besides the actual physical illnesses and death, the toughest part for me is just sitting back and watching so much division in this country right now, and at times even hatred because of how things are being handled state by state or even city by city.
Yeah, and Pat, I was about to ask you some questions about quarantine, but I don't feel that there's a need because your life's still the same. Like, I mean, like you said, I just had some buddies that went down for a birthday weekend. Not this one, the one before. Yeah, but life's normal. They're doing the same thing, having a good time, partying. Nothing to worry about. So, I mean, yeah, it seems like down in Florida, it's completely different, obviously, than what it is up here in Buffalo.
It is. Early on, it wasn't. There's this league. It's an MVP league. It's a recreational, fun league where people play softball, kickball, volleyball. And the guy who runs it was really cool. He started like this online virtual game nights. Like there was a trivia night, a name that tune night, a flip cup night, which was kind of wild. But within a couple of weeks, again, people were already starting to kind of on the down low, but people were starting to get together at houses, just small gatherings, 2, 3, 4 people.
Yeah.
Then over the last, 3, 4 weeks, I would put it this way, man, not necessarily proud of it. And I did keep my distance, by the way, because I have COPD. I don't want to be catching COVID right now, but I just went to a pool party on Saturday. I mean, it wasn't like what you saw in the Ozarks, but it was more than 10 people. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. So we'll get out of the quarantine talk. No need. We obviously know what's going down in Florida and not here in Buffalo. But so how are things going with you? The podcast just passed 5K followers on Twitter. Another question I had for you too. Yeah, congrats to that. Another question I had for you too is, wait, what is your day job? You said you're working remote.
Well, all right. So, like, I'll give you an example. At the Erie County Fair every year, they have demolition derby shows.
Yeah.
The company that I work for puts those shows on, but we don't just do the Erie County Fair. Like we do 75, 80 shows all up and down the Eastern Coast, all kinds of motor sports shows like demolition derbies, figure eight racing, monster trucks, stock car football, all kinds of stuff like that. So the company I work for puts on those shows, and I do a lot of the boring paperwork, which sucks, but it is also cool because it gives me an opportunity, again, to work from home and a lot of spare time to work on other projects such as the podcast. You know what I mean? So that's my daytime job. But yeah, it's which, by the way, the Erie County Fair, I know it has not been officially canceled yet. And I'm going to put this out there right now. Please be open this year. That is huge for me because that literally determines my summer. I don't want to get into all the details of it, but long story short, if the Erie County Fair is open up, I get to spend a good 6 weeks in Buffalo in the summer. If they cancel, might be stuck down here and it's going to suck.
Wow. I thought you were about to break it like it's canceled. It's off.
I thought you had breaking news too. I was getting very excited.
No, don't get
tease.
excited.
It was a good tease by P. Moran.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a job. It affords me time to do the podcast. Doing the podcast is still a lot of fun. Do 2 shows a week, and for a little over 2 years now, it's just I like the creative process of just doing the whole thing. It's fun to put something out, but whether it does great or whether it does terrible, I'm already looking forward to the next one because I just like the whole process of putting some notes together, doing an interview. I actually like editing, and I kind of like all the other stuff that comes after it. So it's just a lot of fun for me. I look at it as just a hobby, something I enjoy doing. In fact, my wife and I argue all the time. My wife likes to go out to bars still, and she's very active. I'm not active at all. She plays volleyball. She plays softball, very good athlete. And those are her nights out. I said my nights out are my podcast. I spend 6-7 hours, whatever it takes to do a podcast. And it's kind of like my outside social life right now.
Hey, your son had to get that athleticism from somewhere, right, Pat?
Definitely was not me. I promise you that. And by the way, that's the worst part of this quarantine for me personally is football. No spring football. Florida, a very big reason why my family moved down here 4.5 years ago now was because of an opportunity for my son to play high school football down here in Florida. And to not have spring football this year, I know it's not even a thing in New York, but down here in the South, spring football is very, very important. I mean, it's just a litany of college recruiters and coaches coming down to check out the kids. So that was a big lost opportunity. So that part of the quarantine has really sucked.
I was gonna say it's gonna be very tough to be active with all the chicken wings that you eat.
Well, that's not the case down here, man.
No.
That's not the case down here at all. It's very easy because there's a Casa de Pizza in my town. Aside from that, Casa de Pizza wouldn't even be, I like Casa, but they wouldn't even be in my top 25 in Buffalo. But down here in Florida, it's like must have because there's nothing else that's anything like it. But yeah, man, God, you just said that and I was feeling so good about, I was all right with not being in Buffalo and it just made me miss it even more.
Are there any good chicken wings outside of New York or Buffalo? Sorry.
No. I mean, I
Like,
don't.
There's not. I never leave Buffalo. Like if I'm in New York City, Vegas, where it doesn't matter what city, I would never think about getting chicken wings outside of Buffalo.
I don't personally know of any. Like I said, the only one down here that's good is Casa de Pizza, and it's a Buffalo place. Now, there might be a couple of other ones in this region, but I can promise you, if there is, I promise you, there's some kind of Buffalo connection to it. It's a Buffalo owner or a former Buffalo cook who's down here working. No, if you go to another city, you get whatever they're famous for. But wings, it's Buffalo or bust for wings for me, and it's always been that way.
Great.
They exist out there. It's just like the difference. It's like the Lion King at the beginning of the movie when Pride Rock is like plentiful of resources versus like when Scar's in charge. Like that's the difference.
Yeah, big time, big time.
So Pat, about the show, you said you've been doing it now over 2 years. Who everyone knows about Adam Schefter. It's the pinned tweet on the profile. We see it every time we go there. But who are some of the other big, guests that you've had over the past 2 years?
Well, I mean, big as in names, I would say Lee Steinberg was on, and I was really nervous about having him on before Super Agent. So I was very nervous about having him on. Richard Deitch, who's with The Athletic now, was with Sports Illustrated. That was like my first big name guest that I had on. So I was very nervous about that. Josina Anderson's done the show. I've had a lot of former Buffalo Bills on, like from the Super Bowl era. But those aren't, I mean, they might be the biggest guests by name, but my favorite guests are always Buffalo sports media people or former Buffalo Bills athletes. Actually, you know what? God rest his soul. If you told me, gun to my head, who's the favorite guest you've ever had on your podcast ever, and I'm not just saying this so people will like what I'm saying. I truly, legitimately mean it. Pancho Villa. Had him on twice. And I never had a conversation with him before the first time he was on the podcast. I had never had a conversation with him before in my life. And you guys have interviewed enough people now. You know this. When somebody comes in your studio, if it's a sports media person, you know that you just need a certain amount of questions. And someone like Tim Grant, for an example, he's going to carry a conversation very well with you.
Yeah.
When you have an athlete on or a fan in the case, because that's what Pancho was, quite often, not all the time, but quite often, they're not so engaging and so talkative. It's like you ask a question, they give you a quick 1 or 2 sentence answer, and then you have to keep coming up with more and more questions and finding ways to navigate the conversation. But Pancho was so engaging, and I'll never forget that, man. I mean, you could ask him a question, he'd go on for 15 minutes, and not boring either. I mean, it was engaging conversation, not boring. So far and away, if I had to pick somebody who was my favorite guest to date, it definitely would have been him.
That's awesome. Maniac, who would your favorite guest be? Trainwreck Sports History.
Our favorite guest?
I'd say Jonah Javad.
This is a Jonah Javad, Brad Ryder falling asleep pre-show. I mean, there's just been so many crushing the Just Dishing crew. I mean, it's like inviting them over is like when, an NCAA team plays someone, it's a pay for game, basically when we get Just Dishing in the house. So a lot of great guests, but continue to up. We're chasing the Pat's podcast. He's at what, 221 now?
Yeah, I'm at 221. And I wanted to give out because as I was talking, I was also thinking about it too. One other guest that I like he's not the most popular person on Twitter, but he's one of the most respected reporters, Paul Hamilton from WGR. I had a really good interview with him. I didn't know what to expect going in because I never really had conversations with Paul. And I know his reputation on Twitter, he'll block people real quick. Frankly, he's only on Twitter because he needs to be, and I'm pretty sure he knows
quick on
that
the
too.
draw. I mean, you gotta respect.
Yeah, he don't mess around. But
true to his brand. He doesn't get defensive over. He just does it. You gotta respect that.
But his life story is really good. He's been through a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, a lot of tragedy. He was a hell of a hockey player during his day. He played college hockey, and he's probably one of, if not the best hockey minds when it comes to knowing Buffalo Sabres stuff of anybody I know.
Yeah, and yeah, speaking of someone who's like hugely disliked on Twitter, who like I didn't know what to expect either, Jerry Sullivan. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of my favorite ever shows to do at Studio D in person was Jerry. The
I saw
light
that
stories
show.
that he brought to the table. He's a guy, come over anytime, have a beer on the back porch. He is awesome. Like that, Jerry was great.
I saw your show with Jerry, and absolutely, he's a great person. And I'll tell you what, you talk to anybody in the media, to a man, everybody loves Sully. He probably is one of the most popular people amongst media people, maybe not
Yep.
fans on social media. But yeah, I saw that show. That was a good show. He was really personable.
Yep.
Low key fact, though, that's the most watched episode of Trainwreck tonight.
Yeah?
Jerry Sullivan coming in at about 6,200 views.
Well, he'll hold that spot till you get John Worrell in your studio.
I can't wait. Johnny 3 Dubs. We're going to have a throne ready for him.
I got to give him credit. He did have the report today. I guess all of his time was sucking up to Jason Botterill in the front office was paid off because that's where they go to with their tips. I'm not a fan of John's, and everybody knows this. But I'll give him credit. I've always said, even during our biggest beefs on Twitter, I respect the hell out of him. He's a good reporter. He's a very good reporter.
He definitely has an in with the Pagulas because he also got the Brandon story. He was like the first one to have it when he got it through the AP. But like at the same time, if you want to be like devil's advocate, like, you know, pissy internet person, like he doesn't really break news. He doesn't give you any speculative stuff. He doesn't give you any true inside like say Tim Graham's article did. Like, you know, a lot of that. So I tip my cap for sure, and it's a respect thing, but at the same time, I would like to see him go after a little bit more juice for those
I don't really care what he does. But I got to give him props. We're sitting there talking about a story that he put out today at the top of your show, so I'd be remiss if I didn't give him props for that. But
True.
I ain't trying to have a beer with him, and I'm sure the feeling is mutual. So whatever, screw it.
All right. Speaking of mutual feelings with a couple people at Trainwreck Sports and in West New York, it's time to get into the Buffalo bracket. We got to talk about that. You seemed like you were a big fan. You had it out. You know, it was a big topic on your show. You know, that just ended. So, you know, wanted to ask you, what were your biggest, you know, question marks, thoughts on the bracket? Who should be in it next year? Any, you know, initial thoughts?
Well, let me say this, okay? First and foremost, you guys put out a 64-team bracket. That's not hard. That's not easy to do. I almost said that's not hard to do. It's very hard to do. It's not easy to do at all. It's very much like the NCAA March Madness. You're going to get snubs. You're going to have people saying, well, where's this? And, well, I got to say entity because it's not a team. Or why is this team ranked as high as they are? Or this team should be ranked lower. That's very difficult to do. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Like you said, me and Matt Marino, I literally did an entire episode just on your Buffalo bracket. And I'll tell you what, as we were going through it, I was having fun, man. It was because me and Matt did not talk ahead of time about who we're going to pick, how we're going to do it, who's going to move on. We kind of just said, screw it, man. And we talked it through, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. So I liked the bracket a lot. And there were some really good choices. I'll say that the winner ended up being the same winner that I would have had.
Yeah.
And I also got to take in mind, too, this is at the end of the day a fan poll. You know what I mean? It's not like you two are sitting there deciding, like Matt and I decided who was going to win the best of Buffalo bracket. You guys are putting it out there, and your fans are voting for it. So I should take that into consideration. But
yeah, you got to think where the people are going to go, Pat. It's not there's a little bit outside logic involved, a little bit of craziness.
There is, and again, you know, every fan base is different as well. In terms of snubs, there was one that jumped out at the page, and we talked about them already. I'm like, where's the Erie County Fair? How's the Erie County Fair not on this? That's huge, man. That's huge. It's probably one of the biggest events in Buffalo. The other thing I kind of took issue with in terms of a snub, which in fairness to you guys made it to the Final Four. I love Ted's Hot Dogs, but I felt like Salem should have been the pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's other places. And then what was the other one? The wings. That was a little bit confusing too. You know what I mean? You had wings as a category, then you had a couple that were dedicated to wings.
Yeah.
And you're banging out 64. First of all, it's hard to come up with 64.
I think that's the greatness of it, though. And you
Absolutely.
hate that. That's okay. But when you have wings going against Allentown, which Allentown has Gabriel's Gate and a number of other places that have wings, like you're getting a little two for matchups there. But so you get the Allentown with the Gabriel's Gate, but is it really better than, you know, your Bar Bills and your top tier spots? So
yeah,
that's quite an entity. And then the same thing with, you know, the Bills home opener. You could have wings at the Bills home opener. And by the way, kudos to both you and Matt Brino. You guys picked Bills home opener over chicken wings. It was a hell of a night.
I'm telling you right now, when I first started that episode with Matt, in a million years, in fact, I think I might have hinted that, well, we're just going through this as a formality. Who's going to finish in second? It wasn't until we started talking. I'm like, wait a second here, man. And we ended up changing our mind. Yeah, the only difference with the final is we had Wegmans going to the final and then losing.
I had chicken wings versus I actually had chicken wings versus Wegmans winning. I was surprised you two, like you were, that they didn't beat summertime weather.
I was fun. I was engaged throughout the whole thing. And I know you guys were referring to the beef on Weck versus Lockport Drive-In, where I went at it a little bit with Ryan. I got to tell you, that was probably the one of all of them that I was getting a little pissed off. Not at Ryan, just pissed off in general, because I'm like, look, first of all, by the way, I know the owner of the Lockport Drive-In. I've known him for over 25 years. I got no problem with the Lockport Drive-In. I like it. I quite like it. Come on, man. Beef on Whack. How is that like 52 to? How did I have to insert a quote tweet and campaign to get other people to retweet that just to push that over the top? I was like, there's no way. Beef on Weck should have had 73% of the vote.
You didn't like that the Lockport loudmouth had his town showing out. You didn't like that Lockport came to play.
It was ballot stuff.
I think you brought up a fair point. Should Trainwreck really have people within the organization going for success? But that's a Lockport loyalist right there. Like he was just doing what felt natural, and it was great to see. It was kind of like, it really was like if an upset was going on in the NCAA tournament and the ref heard like the crowd noise and the ref's like, all right. Like it starts going a little bit for the underdog. It was the most fun matchup. You got to be honest. Looking back at the bracket, that was by far one of the most fun matchups.
It was fun, and honestly, as somebody who followed the entire thing, for me, it was the most stressful because I'm like, what the hell, man? It can't happen. And yeah, I went at it a little bit with Ryan. But I like Ryan. I got no problem with Ryan. He's a cool dude. And he was promoting. But again, Trainwreck sports dudes should not be influencing your fans out there. You got more than enough fans, man. You don't need to be influencing them who to vote on. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Pat, I'm with you, though, 100%. There's no way that vote should have been that close. Oh. It should have been at least 65, 70 beef on Weck. I mean, people are tweeting about the drive-in for Bills games. I'm not going to the drive-in for a damn Bills game. Are you kidding me?
Going there. I can see people going there.
I forgot one other one, too. A snub. St. Patrick's Day. What's up with that? Because that just reminded me. The other one that was an upset, but to be fair, it was a legit upset. It wasn't an upset. I thought Dingus Day. I think Matt and I might have had Dingus Day going all the way to the Final Four. Yeah, we had Dingus Day going all the way to the Final Four. I didn't get out of your first round. Now, to be fair, again, Muddy Taco, you could absolutely make a case. So that wasn't like no conspiracy or nothing. That was just the fans went the other way that Matt and I did. But I'm like, Dingus Day's freaking huge in Buffalo. You don't know where it is anywhere else in the nation, but Buffalo, come on.
You were beside yourself over that St. Patty's Day snub, but here's my devil's advocate take on that. It is huge in Buffalo, but when you look back on 2020, St. Patty's Day is kind of going to be like a day of infamy for when like everyone was out at Soho, no social distancing, that was a bad day. That was a bad day for Buffalo looking back on it. So
it was. Now I got to be honest with you, because this is the first year was this the first year that you guys did a 60-14 team bracket?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this was a best of Buffalo 2020 style then. Then I'm all good with St. Patrick's Day.
32 to a 64 this year.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a lot of fun, man. And I think people are engaged. And again, I did an entire show. I could do an entire season. I could have a different guest on every week and go through the same bracket that you guys put out. And it would probably be just as fun every time.
Next year, we're definitely going to have to do a pre-show, and we'll give you the bracket beforehand so you could get your snubs and all your things out early.
It's half the fun, man. If you put something out and people are not complaining, then you're doing something wrong.
Good point.
Pat, got to ask you before we get into Maniacs Trainwreck Trivia. Bigger rivalry, the funnel guy or the Lockport loudmouth?
I would say probably funnel guy. Although we've been, I don't want to say we've been cool with each other, but we've been silent with each other for a half season. Which, by the way, when the team stinks, he's nowhere to be found. When they're playing good, He's dominating Twitter in your video feeds when they're playing well. When they're not, I don't see him.
That is a totally fair point. I mean, I hate to say it, funnel guy he is the funnel father now, so he is obviously taking care of young Jameson down in the South Towns. But you're absolutely right, Pat. When they're winning in October, he's all over the feed. But when they're losing in January, he's a ghost.
He came at me, but you know what? He's a fan first and foremost. I don't think he tries to portray himself as some kind of objective journalist. You know what I mean? He's not Tim Graham. He's not Jay Skursky. He's not being unobjective on his team. He loves his team. And he's chugging beers, literally, for when they score goals. He didn't like what I said about NBA over NHL and took offense. I got no problem with it. He came at me. I came back at him.
Hey, it was good Twitter.
It was good. Yeah, it was fun. It was all fun.
Like I said, perfect night. Fire that tweet, tag funnel guy. I mean, it will just take off.
It will. It literally is the perfect night.
It is. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want that fired.
All right, it's gonna happen.
All right, Maniac, do your thing.
All right, folks, we are back. Trainwreck Trivia. You know it. We're one episode in. Al is 0-1. He fell to Paul Peck last week. Actually, Paul Peck and Joe Licata, all that. Paul Peck was the ultimate winner. We have Trainwreck Trivia back with Al versus Pat Moran. Brought to you by Buffalo Credit Repair. Go join them again if you're looking to make a purchase. Maybe you're looking to get a boat for the summer. Maybe you're looking to buy a car. Maybe you're looking to get a house. You're just looking for a better rate. You're looking for a little consultation there. Visit our friends at Buffalo Credit Repair. BuffaloCreditRepair.com, 716-436-5000. So here we go. Pat, this is how Trainwreck Trivia works. I'm going to ask you a question about Trainwreck Sports, and I'm going to ask Al a question about your exploits and your work with your podcast.
Jesus Christ.
This might be fun. Okay.
I told him we were doing it. I told him we were doing it, so he's it. So who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, Pat, you go first. All right, here we go. So these are all, like, some of these are directly a Trainwreck. Some of them are there. There's 4 questions, and then there's a bonus if things go that way. So this one is the least direct related to Trainwreck, but it's your first question. Name one of UB football's out-of-conference opponents this year.
Oh, boy.
See, because Al could rattle off like 3 easily right now.
He's a big UB guy. I know that. I'm about to go down. I'm about to go down 0-1 there. I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. They have played. There's a very big school they're playing this year.
No hints.
Nebraska.
Although very close with the red and white. You could have gone with Kansas State to open the year, and then they're going to be on the road at Ohio State in September. So that'll be some crazy matchups for Lance Leipold to go. But Pat is 0-1 to start off. So here we go. Al, your first question. Pat is the host of the Talking Buffalo podcast. What is his website?
PatMoran.com.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Pat, what is it?
It's still Moranalytics.com, but that's only because I've been too lazy right now and haven't forked it up yet for
I like Moranalytics. I like the idea that in Talking Buffalo podcast uses Moranalytics. That's my
it's also because I did a lot of 80s stuff very early on when I first started my blog. That's still on there, and I don't want to lose all that stuff. So that's part of the reason why. But yeah,
you're preaching to the choir on the website moving. No doubt about it. All right, we are gonna go second question for Pat. Okay, so this is a great one. What is Funnel Guy's real name?
I don't know. I don't know him as anything else other than Funnel Guy and Shit Starter. That's all I know him as. I don't know.
Shit Starter, final answer?
Yes.
Tristan Ernst, we knew that was going to be a good one. It's going to be, you interact with them. Everyone has their persona. Like, Al and I have our names on there, but you see all kinds of people. Shoop Dog for Josh, Al.
Yep. Talked,
all kinds of stuff. So it's funny how the internet personas take over in that sphere. So 0-2 for Pat. Not a strong start, but let's see if Al can capitalize here.
Well, before you ask me that, though, the fact that I don't know that lends more credence to him being known as Funnel Guy. That's what he's
Yes.
known as. So
Definitely. No, for sure. People are yelling Funnel Guy. They're not yelling his name, Tristan, which is obviously what we all know and love him as.
Yep.
Okay. Al, you have 20 seconds once I finish asking you this question to answer, okay?
Okay.
In Pat Moran's chicken wing rankings, his top tier is the Mount Rushmore of Buffalo. Name the 4 spots in the Mount Rushmore of Buffalo. Go.
9/11. Barbell.
10 seconds left.
Oh, come on. I actually look at these two. Gabriel's Gate. Oh, I'm done. Sorry. God damn it.
Well, you missed the one you missed that was easy was the
Elmo's?
UB Elmo's, yeah. And then the new kid on the block, Macy's place.
yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have got Macy's, but I should have gotten Elmo's.
For sure. Okay, so 0 for 2. This is a defensive affair. You love to see it here. At
First 1-1 wins.
Brought to you by Buffalo Credit Repair. Okay, so Pat, this one could be a little easier. Let's see. Name 2 venues besides Rec Room on Chippewa and Rock Bottom on Transit Road where Trainwreck Sports has hosted watch parties for Bills, Sabres, or UB games. There are 3 to 4 other options you could say. I'm looking for 2.
The only one I knew for sure was Rec Room. Oh, God.
The most recent one. We did do one in the most recent Sabres season. That's your only hint, that it was a Sabres game.
There was one, maybe it was Rec Room. I remember seeing a video of you on the bar pouring shots for everybody.
That was Rec Room.
It was Rec
One of
Room.
the greatest times ever. Bills reached the playoffs, baby. Let's go. Duck Hodges went down.
I don't know, because you know why? I listen to audio podcasts more than video stuff. So I listen to your stuff on my iPhone more than I see your videos. I'm not, you know what? Soho?
So no good. Although we did host the Mafia homecoming party there. Would have accepted Papi Grande's, Allen Street Hardware, Grandma Mora's, or Amherst Ale House.
Amherst Ale House. Oh, my God, I knew that one. I've done a show there.
You were too busy thinking of them as a sponsor, not somewhere where we actually
Well, I'm also too old to know some of those places you just mentioned, except for Amherst Ale House. That place I've been to many times.
Okay, this could be a grind here. Let's see. Okay, this one is for Al. Oops, sorry, I gotta turn this down.
Oh, no. What the?
Sorry, folks. Okay. Little Trainwreck Trivia intermission there, brought to you by Buffalo Credit Repair. Okay, Adam Schefter, obviously, like you said, Al, one of Pat's bigger guests. Who was Pat Moran's first guest? Here's your hint, as I gave him a hint before. He has been on Trainwreck in the last year.
Oh, holy shit. First ever guest. This. Are you kidding me?
He went with the polar opposite for his second guest.
I'll go. Oh, this is tough. Mapove.
Mapove is incorrect, although he has been on Pat's podcast. Pat, you want to let him know?
Sal Capaccio.
Oh my God, both Florida guys too.
Yeah, he was great. I went before I started the podcast. I wanted to make sure he'd be my first guest. He was the first person I went to. So yeah, Sal.
Wow, that's okay. This sucks.
Man, I mean, I don't know whether these questions are too hard or I'm just running up the score. We gotta see what's going on. Okay. So Pat, here's one for you. This is tougher, I'd say. Who was the first guest on Trainwreck Sports, which earned Trainwreck acclaim and shout-outs from NBC Sports and Yahoo Sports?
Wow.
Well, that takes away my answer of my first thought. I know he wasn't your first, but I know Nate Gary was on relatively early. I know Jeremy White was on relatively early, but it's not neither of them. If you NBC Sports and Yahoo Sports, I'm trying to think.
No one in the media.
Yeah, it's not a media member.
It's not a media member. Oh boy.
Maniac, give him another hint.
Yeah.
I'll give you this. The reason that it was posted about on those outlets is that Al was in Trainwreck. And at this point, I wasn't actually even in Trainwreck Sports. That's an even bigger trivia tidbit. But they were the first to interview him. That's why those outlets picked it up. And it's a male. So there's your other hint.
And a second hint, this is a big event that happened at the Ralph.
You're ridiculous.
Gotta give him that. This is tough. I mean, this is really tough.
Big event that happened at the Ralph. That was your first guest on the show?
Yep, that's not media, but it made national news.
Oh my God. This is going to be one of those where I legitimately, the first couple you've asked me, honestly, even if you told me, I don't know if I would have gotten them, but this is going to be one where you tell me and I'm going to probably kick myself after.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I give up. Who is it?
Maniac, give it to him.
The man himself, the dildo tosser.
Oh, gee, that was your first guess ever?
Al got the exclusive. Al got the exclusive.
That is awesome. I shouldn't be surprised though, but that's awesome.
Next time you have a free moment, Google Trainwreck Sports and dildo tosser.
I'm going to
laugh at the outlets that picked it up.
I mean, yeah, you're talking New York Daily News.
Yeah.
I was sprinting across my house. I couldn't believe it that these major news people were like tagging us. So they'd click it and go right to our page. I couldn't believe it. It was
that's
crazy.
awesome. That's awesome.
Okay, so what now? Was that 0 for 4? Jeez, Pat.
Yeah, first one to one wins.
Al can win, and this is a multiple choice option, so you're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
We will go to the bonuses no matter what. Which one of these individuals has not been on Pat's podcast? Which one has not been on Pat's podcast? Rebecca Thornburg, Sal Majorana, Mike Shope, or Don Beebe?
I'm going to say Beebe was on it. Thornburg was definitely on it. I'll say the one that wasn't was Sal.
Pat?
Nope, that's wrong. It's Mike Shope. Mike's the only one I haven't had. I have not had Mike on. I have not had the opportunity to have Mike on. I look forward to it. I'm saying the politically correct things here. I'm a big Mike fan, but no, has not been on the show. Sal was on it pretty early, like within the first 20 so episodes.
That's devastating because I thought, oh.
All right, these bonus questions are gonna crush you guys, but I gotta do them to finish out this game. We might have a 0-0 shutout.
It's gonna be the first
0-0. First Richter in here right now. Okay, so Pat, your bonus question. Oh wait, hold on. What is it? Okay. In 2018, UB had a historical football season, winning double-digit games. Can you name one of our UB song parodies that we created during the 2018 season?
Oh my God. I'm thinking in my mind, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with it, but I remember the UB Naked guy. I remember you guys doing a dance. Oh my God. It's going to drive me crazy. I should know this. I've seen the video plenty of times.
They picked it up in the Buffalo News. It was a big deal.
Oh my God. You guys were dancing around the park too at some point. Oh my God. It's going to drive me freaking crazy. Oh.
You got 10 seconds.
Oh my God. I can't think of it, but it's literally on the tip of my tongue right now. Oh, it's not on the tip of my tongue, but when you tell me it is, I'm going to know it instantly. Damn it.
Incorrect. Got nothing. Al, which was it?
Do you remember?
UB September. And as well, Mark's plan. Let's go UB.
Oh my God.
God's plan.
Okay, so Pat, unfortunately, override. Al can either win or tie with this bonus question.
This is it.
So and then you bet you really need to get it, or else you're gonna be kind of. Pat has reviewed 67 wings, 67 wing spots, right, Pat?
Yes.
He has 7 tiers. His lowest tier is the hypothetical wing waiver wire. There are 13 spots on this list. Can you name one of them? In the next 20 seconds, go.
14 places in the waiver. I'm trying to think of that place in fucking Niagara Falls or Grand Island that place just won the bracket for Barstool. I can't even think of their name.
No, they're not on there.
That's not on. I don't think I've had them.
There's only like 2 or 3 places in here that I know you know of. You have 5 seconds.
We're gonna tie 0-0. This is awesome.
Duff's not on there. That's like in one of your middle upper tiers, right, Pat?
Yeah, that's pretty up. That's pretty up there.
The places that I know you know on here, I'm pretty sure you know about SC Lounge, Blaisdell Pizza, Danny's South, Glen Park Tavern.
Oh my, yep.
Lovejoy Pizza, Buffalo Tap House.
We've talked about Pat's thing at Glen Park Tavern.
Yep.
They're dead last on my list. I hated everything about them. I'm sure they're good people, but the wings were awful. Ditto with Danny South. SC Lounge, real quick here. I didn't like their wings, but that was one of my favorite bars. I absolutely love that place. Great bar to drink at, man. I had a great time there. I just didn't care for the wings that much, but that was a really cool spot.
Pat, when you get back up to Buffalo, we got to do that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I want to come in Studio D.
Yes.
I gotta get in Studio D. I've still never been up in Studio D before. So hopefully things will be, trending in the right way. I could get up there and do a show with you guys there. That'd be a lot of fun too.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, look at the bright side, Pat. You did not lose to Al in Trainwreck Trivia. It's a tie. Al goes to 0-1-1, still looking for his first win. Trainwreck Trivia brought to you by Buffalo Credit Repair.
Can I say something real quick? Because that Maniac, I know you got to run.
Yeah, you're good.
We're closing in right now. But one thing, last show was Trainwreck Trivia with me too. So I didn't know I had to prepare for the other side.
Yeah.
So now I know that you could be going Trainwreck.
What you coming into this one though? Because I asked you Peck and Licata stuff for the other one. You're asleep at the wheel, bro. I mean, this train never stops, but it doesn't mean you can take a snooze.
Yeah, my brain stops clearly. All right.
Never. Hey,
what are you gonna do?
Huge shout out. I'll lead the way out for our guest, Pazda Electric. I'm taking the buzz. Trainwreck's newest sponsor. Shout out to them. Keep an eye out for all things Pazda.
All right, Pat, who are you shouting out tonight?
I got to shout out my hometown, man. It's good to be on with you guys. You guys are in Buffalo. Spent a lot of time talking about Buffalo. I miss it, man. I really do. And it's just not the same. Florida's nice, but it's not Buffalo. And I always say that. So got to give my shout out to my hometown, the city of Buffalo.
Thank you, Pat. I got to give a shout out to all the weathermen and women in Buffalo that still have jobs, who can consistently predict the forecast wrong and somehow still make a living. I mean, last week it went from perfect weekend, then to a washout, then back to beautiful and sunny. And today, what was the high of 87, 88? No, it got to like 94 here in Buffalo. It's just unbelievable. My house has got to be 89 by the time I check that thermostat again. AC
That's
guys.
Really a shout out to job security, because we love Mankowski and Bagley. Those are our guys.
Oh yeah.
And Don Paul.
I should have said that. Shout out to people that have job security.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Pat, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Like I said before the show, I feel like I've talked to you. We've been good friends for the past 3-4 years, but it's the first time I'm talking to you tonight, so it's been great. Maniac, thank you once again. Buffalo Credit Repair. Good night now.